Good morning, friends of the channel. Hello? It is a cold day, isn't it? I am slightly angry. Here! Pina makes herself heard. Today is the classic Monday where either you do something amazing and change a piece of furniture, otherwise, between cold, darkness, and everything else, it's not good. So you see these ugly, austere shapes square the studs. What do I have to do here to save it? Everything. We'll apply some moldings and make it super romantic. This is one of those restyling where you'll never believe it, but something super romantic will happen. So we start, but first we need to fix the feet, as they broke while dragging it. To start, I use a good glue like the Mastrodacea. Apply the glue to the base and let's go. We're all set to begin. These little feet were made of brass, with a nice iron pin. You see, they could also be adjusted, raised, and lowered. Unfortunately, they were mounted on a structure made of chipboard and were uprooted by pulling the wood. Now we position them, and using 2 pieces of wood and a vise, we put them right back in their place. Let it dry well. Remember, it's a good glue that swells as it dries, so be patient and allow adequate drying time. So it will effectively fill all the cracks and establish a completely adhesive chamber for our pin. Okay, so do not worry. Don't worry if it comes out while drying, as actually, it will almost inevitably come out when drying. Emma, please, let's take a small brush and remove the glue while it's still soft. We can also place a small amount of glue in this area in order to seal the outer part. As you can see, I have put on gloves. Put them on too because it's a very strong, very tough glue, so it's better for your hands as well. I suggest you be sure that the foot is straight when you are putting it in back, otherwise if it's crooked it is a problem, so be sure it is nice and straight. Place some plastic film in front and behind, making sure that the wood does not stick or adhere later on during the process. We don't need it on the back, okay? Let's place a little stick here and here. Just hold the pieces of wood and I will be cautious. One here and one there. This is to avoid breaking the furniture. Hold. I go. We apply strong pressure to ensure the wood is fully compressed and perfectly compacted. Now we do it on the other foot too, but first we take a brush with a bit of water and remove the excess glue. Our work of getting it back in shape took longer than expected perhaps. We plastered a small part with the 2-component putty, put our little legs back on their feet, and removed the clamps. Some time has passed, so everything is perfect, ready to start with the base. Why do I say base? Because today I will use the textured Rocher with the addition of Magic Star powder to make a base that will be covered with another color. Why? Because I want to remove this gloss and I want to remove the, let's say, the extremely modern base of this piece of furniture, and I want to do it with our classic technique of using textured powder to cover the surfaces. So, now I'm putting 3 nice full tablespoons, 5 if they are not too full. And then, as always, add as much color as you want. Know that you must create the thickness that you like. So if you want it more liquid, you put more color in it. If you want it thicker, put less. And I always use the brush as a spoon to stir because you know that at least I find everything homogeneous, including the bottom, scraping well with the bristles the bottom of my bowl. I still need to add some, as the furniture isn't small anyway. Here we go. I put in 200 degrees. I stir, and then with my Big King brush, I start to create the textured base. As always, remember that it is up to you to decide what kind of texture you want to lay. If you want, you can use it in a smooth velvety way, just by doing some smooth brush strokes, or you can choose to dab or use the classical cross brush stroke technique. Let's say that, based on the texture you give now, the style of the furniture is then identified. So make sure you identify what you like. I know that today you are extremely skeptical. Skepticism abounds here too, in this room. But I assure you it will become super, super, super romantic. I'm starting with 2 beautiful moldings. A bit big, I know, but I think they look good. And Solly Joe would support me. Code VUB 11322-4. There is also a smaller one. But I want to overdo it today. I use the bigger one. I'll put it here. To embellish the leg, and must stay like this, while the twin will go on the other side. The molding is very big, and as usual, yes, I will glue it to the surface using vinyl wood glue and the heat gun, but today I will also put in 2 small nails. What is the reason for that? Because I do not want to risk that. By gluing too fast, it will come off. You know that you should apply glue and use a brush to spread it in such a way that it becomes quite uniform, all right? Then it is indeed true that in any case, the grip is truly good, because once the molding grips tightly, it never comes off. I always say I have benches outside in the park. I decorated them 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, and they're perfect. They were exposed to water, wind, sun, and rain, but they never came off. Please remember that the important thing is to do a good job when gluing. I put it there. I would like it to be straight and leaning against the base. So can you hold it steady for me, Emma? Thank you. I grab my nail gun. I'll put it here, like this, and put in 2 little nails. You've gone too far, okay? Maybe there is perfect. Always bear in mind that we should make sure that the molding is glued well without making the small nails too noticeable on the molding. I use this nail gun because the entrance hole is incredibly tiny, to the point where it becomes imperceptible and it no longer moves. Look at this. My beautiful molding is essentially glued permanently. Here it is. Here we're fine, and here we're fine. Emma, while I do the same there, can you remove the glue for me?
Yes.
I'll just need the little brush and some water, and as you can see, the glue comes off without any problems. The molding must adhere well, so now that Emma has removed the excess glue, then with the heat gun, we warm up the molding well. Right, Emma?
Yes.
And we press it down again so that there are no detachments around the molding. Here the skepticism increases, but it doesn't matter. I have faith in my idea and will add a molding that has a central flower, even to the side. Why the flower? You don't know it yet, but I will show you that with a small touch, it will be truly bucolic. Now, can you locate the correct center, Emma? Perfect. Apply a bit of glue. And here too we define the molding on the side.
Is the precise center.
Perfect. About the height. Where should I go? I think 10. Okay. Here, approximately?
Yes.
Okay, here. Let's try to apply it straighted on the right and left too. Hand me the nail gun.
Yes.
Please measure it for me, both right and left, so we're sure to be okay. We're at 9 over here. And over there? 9 in the middle. We should be there just a bit. What do you say?
Yes.
Then I glue it in a permanent way. 1 nail here and 1 here. Great. We clean and reheat. The moldings are all dry and in their place. I'm stirring again Magic Star with Rocher, the solution made a few minutes ago. And voila, the thickness is perfect. I will use this kind of application, however, I repeat, you do as you like. Dabbed or stroked, whatever you want. I'll do something fancy. I will use the conventional crossed brushstroke technique and I will apply 2 coats, as I anticipate needing to apply 2 coats of Rocher in order to completely cover the entire surface area. I do the sides.
Yes.
We use the king brush because it is actually perfect to create a beautiful textured brushstroke. So, first I apply it in this manner, and afterward I add texture to it by doing the following thing. I go on. I must cover the whole surface. I apply the second coat of textured Rocher to the entire structure. I change the brush to Elizabeth for a smaller dabbing. Emma uses a 50-60 brush to show the difference in the application, the dabbing, and the final outcome. So, even if you have some color mixed with Magic Star left, always stir it well with the brush to thicken it because it might separate a bit. Incorporate the color well.
And start.
And now I tap and widen. You can also first spread the color a bit, as I am doing right now, in order to use it best, and then dab. I tap because I want to achieve the greatest texture. So, by having a base with a very rough brush stroke, and now by dabbing with the brush, I can get a very, very textured and uneven surface. This will help me a lot in the final outcome. I'll spread it all over, on the whole piece of furniture, and let it dry thoroughly. Look, if you go back to where you've just laid it out and it is drying, you can also go over it again. It will happen that you will further increase the texture. Do you see? A very beautiful dabbing. It can be interesting to work with the heat, a hairdryer, and drying. Meanwhile, the drier it gets, the more textured it becomes. Look, in some points, the underlying brushstroke can be glimpsed. In other points, simply my dabbing is visible, and this makes the texture of the base even more beautiful. We started the transformation to make it super, super romantic. And obviously, the most romantic magic paint color is Vintage Rose. We both use Architetto brush. Do you have it? No, I got a 50. You prefer that?
Yes.
Okay, I won't say anything. We start applying a coat of pure color all over. One will be enough as there's already a beautiful painted textured surface, but it must be pure. Ah, these two shades look fantastic together. Rocher and Vintage Rose are truly stunning together. Exceptional. It looks like a treasure chest that contains ancient laces.
Nice.
It covers well, and yes, one coat is enough. And a really thin veil, because I absolutely do not want to remove the texture that is underneath. Even if it is pure paint, precisely, not mixed with textured powder, you will always see texture. Because I apply it thin, it's a veil. We create a semi-modern effect, painting with vintage rose up to here. Instead, we will leave the rest of the internal part in wood. We laid the piece of furniture horizontally because it's time to decorate with this beautiful stencil. Emma called it Giardino Bucolico. Why? What does it represent to you? It seems a bit like the Romantic style, a bit bucolic, a bit like a greenhouse. Out of those French greenhouses, it is beautiful, so we have decided to determine the height. We are lucky that the upper part of this furniture, resembling a chest bench, is straight and can go low, so we decided to use the top part. However, it is an extremely clever stencil since it can be used either from top to bottom or from bottom to top, with this beautiful vase filled with flowers. So the reason why I chose the side molding with flowers is this. Before proceeding with the aging process and the rest of the restyling, let's make ongoing stencils around the entire perimeter of our furniture. Always very, very precise, be sure. Let's put the tape. We attempt to follow the shapes precisely, but it is not at all difficult. With this raw edge. And here we are. We use cotton, a warm white, and 2 stencil brushes for our work. It is very easy. We should drain the excess of paint on this wooden tile, which is useful for many things, but especially for this. Let's start decorating now. Always make sure to properly drain the brush to prevent any leakage from occurring under the stencil, please. In this case, when using the paint, try to have the stencil with a cut. If you run your finger over it, you feel a bit of a step, a bit of a cut underneath, not on top. You'll be more precise. If you want to use an alternative technique with the brush, you can also opt to take the stencil brush, slightly drain it initially like this, by tapping, and then delicately caress the surface, like this. However, it only works if you have an extremely drained brush. Please be cautious, because if you use it with even a bit of paint inside, it can drip underneath. This leaves a slightly lighter and velvety brush stroke on the stencil, but a very, very elegant finish. First I drain it a bit and then I caress it. Let's see if we were accurate. There's the pickling anyway.
Yes.
You can go. Beautiful. It has a very elegant effect, resembling a stunning French greenhouse. Listen, I'll dry it with the hairdryer and we reposition it. To carry on with the stencil, you need to reposition this upper triangle. I know that sometimes they can seem like simple things, but it helps you a lot. Reposition it, try to be precise, and obviously also follow the grid. There will be parts where, as you see, there will be the other, but it's normal. as it overlaps, as it has continuity. Also remember that you can always take a very small brush if you have smudged or if you have not been too precise to go and touch up.
You won't be able to see it. Can we proceed, Emma?
Yes.
Okay. We split, I work here and you there so we don't run into each other.
Now I will start here. You see, I easily overlap the previous stencil by tapping, and in this way, I join them together. And the small triangle is very helpful in ensuring precise continuation. If you are looking for something extremely romantic, this stencil is perfect for you. Imagine it on a wall or a very large, beautiful wardrobe. Now Emma and I will continue on the entire piece of furniture, including the side parts, always trying to join. We move it, making sure the design is never interrupted, but always follows beginning. Mirror, mirror of my desires, who is the most beautiful of them all? This furniture has become a trunk, as far as I'm concerned, due to its shape and appearance. Now I'll do a pickling with my new sander. Spectacular. What do you notice that's different? It does not have a wire. Finally, I have the sander with the battery. It is a turning point, guys. So now I am at home, I am in my workshop, and so I connected it with the tube to the vacuum cleaner. And they communicate. When the sander turns on, after a few moments, the vacuum cleaner also turns on. This is a turning point if you have to sand at home. But if you're outside, in the park, that's enough. You won't have this tube and you're set. Just the sander with battery. No wires, you can sand anywhere you want. A turning point. I am very happy about this news. So, let's go. The handle can also be adjusted. Just turn it. Tack, 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 like this. And for us who do the pickling with the sander, it's insane. I apply a 1 in 20 grit paper. Let's see how it works. Let's see if I like the pickling. Let's remember that underneath there were 2 textured coats of Rocher made with Rocher and Magic Star powder. Now I will make the top antique and let's see what happens. Let's see if it works. Start. Wipe it with a small cloth, you can definitively see the result. Now it's your call to emphasize or do something else. I haven't finished yet, I will still make it antique, but this is just the beginning. So please work well on bases when they're textured, as the brush strokes you've laid in the first and the second coat will be highly visible. Now I have to protect before antiquing, because there are still a lot of features to highlight thanks to the antique process with waxes. So I use the Legendaria wax and the brush with the string that I always use only for wax or greasy things, and I protect the whole surface. I highly recommend using excellent applications, both horizontally and vertically, to ensure that the entire surface is completely and thoroughly protected at all times. Don't forget even an inch. It's even more important once we carry on an antique with the antiquing wax. Look how the furniture color changes when applying wax, instantly coming to life. So please, apply a generous coat of wax on all the furniture and then proceed with the antiquing process. It's time for the antiquing process, and I will use the gray and the brown liquid wax for this purpose. Brown because I want a classic patina, but slightly cooler, and thus I lower the temperature with the gray wax. Be careful. When opening the jars, it is crucial to stir the contents thoroughly to prevent any potential separation. I pour them into this old bowl to keep the mixture separate and avoid any potential mess inside the jars. Now I am stirring with the brush, carefully checking to determine if I like the mix that I just made. I like it because it has something classic about it, but also a cold tone that helped in softening the final color. Now you will see the reason why I did not emphasize much on the molding while I was pickling. For two main reasons. First, the molding is clear, and even by sanding it would not be the same as the furniture. Two, because I already knew I would go ahead with the liquid wax. Remember, always the same thing. If you do not remove the transparent wax that is underneath, by massaging you will have more time, so it dries a bit more slowly. Instead, if you massage it, be cautious as it dries faster. I start from here and antique the whole piece of furniture. We will now see together the first part of the door with the molding. That is why the furniture has been laid down, so that you can see what comes out of it even better. And here we will highlight even more the molding, the textured bases that we have created, the antiquing patina, everything we did. Let's also antique there. I lay it out, and then you should know that I immediately massage it. So don't worry if you see that I'm going to cover the furniture too much. You shouldn't worry about that, please. Let's remove excess in the moldings. Let's go this far, so the little door will be all the same, made at the same time and applied in the same way. With a microfiber, soft cloth. I'll remove some. Let's start where we started, where there is the molding, but I leave it a little moist. I exclusively remove what is outside. I am heading here because I do not want the stencil, which is very light, to become overly antiquated. I then start to gently remove the excess from the highest part. And now, step by step, I persist in gradually removing layer after layer. Please remember that this wax dries slowly, and as it dries, it creates different proportions and shapes. Also remember that if you want to lighten the antique wax even more because you made a mistake, you put too much, you don't like it, you will just need to keep the clear one closed that will act as an eraser.
Hand it over, Emma.
If you prefer, you can also keep the bottom, the lower part, a little darker shade. Here we spread it very gently, as you can see, delicately, and now it will help you remove some parts of the aging wax that are too evident, as you can see. It is a step you must do without stress. You need to know how to behave before starting, and you must not do it with anxiety thinking you have ruined, antiqued too much, or dirtied too much. No. When you do this step, you must be very calm and figure out how to lighten or darken it to your liking. See, I can further lighten and bring out even more the base color by delicately massaging with a cloth. Acquiring the characteristic bitterness of the aging wax. Observe how it gradually resurfaces by gently massaging it carefully. Now let's take a very fine abrasive sponge, and I will demonstrate how to further lighten the liquid wax if it happens to start drying too much. Look. With the sponge to smooth surfaces gently, you can lighten everything even more. So here you have no problem, remember? Look, if you made a mistake and darkened it too much,
With a delicate touch, slowly and gently, I can lighten even more the surface.
also here, can you see it? It can easily be removed with a cloth.
Or with the abrasive sponge.
Now carefully study all the different steps and try to understand what you like the most and what you like the least. How much to antique, how much to dirty the furniture, or how much to leave it light. Above all, this video should help you understand how to fix things if you've made something that you don't like 100%, or if you simply want to change what you've just done. Okay, another trick. Do not immediately do this step on a piece of furniture you are particularly fond of. Run a test, initially on a small frame where it's easy to work on. This will allow you to really become familiar with the patina technique. Now I will carry on. I will leave a bit more patina in the lower part, so I continue to remove and spread. Do you see what I mean? I am going to lighten the molding part a bit more. Here we go. Look, by going over it, I'll lighten it again. In the meantime, it dried off, but by rubbing, I brought it out again. Here we are, also here. And I carry on trying to understand how much I want to make my furniture antique. What do you think? It's no longer a piece of furniture, it's a trunk. In fact, it has very particular shapes and features. Now we'll set it, Emma and I. If Pina leaves us alone because she's annoying today. And let's see what setting we can give to this romantic piece of furniture that is now a trunk. This restyling is finished. The usual sentence. I'm glad I gave this furniture another chance. Everyone looked at it and said, it's really ugly. Instead, no, because in my opinion, this edge with studs and rounded feet had something special. And I'm glad I trusted this romantic makeover because it's not something someone would have, let's say, redecorated in this romantic style. I am very happy with this new stencil because it gives a lot of satisfaction to all of us lovers of vintage style, romantic style, also combined with shades of blue, green. It's a stencil that will give much satisfaction. I like it even though it's no longer a piece of furniture, but it is actually a trunk. I can see it very well with a television set on top, maybe a record player, or even in the kitchen with cookbooks or the essentials inside. Also ideal to have a coffee. Remember, old furniture, the ugliest ones, can bring the most satisfaction. Taking a nice piece of furniture just to change the color is too easy. Write to me in the comments if you liked it. If you like the romantic style, see you at the next restyling. Bye.